if you look at my career, I mean, like I was after college all over the place. I was day trading stocks full time for 6 months. I was starting a frozen beverage supply business in Dallas, actually. In a rough experience as an entrepreneur. I was building real estate all over the place. And it's interesting to look back, the last 17 years of my career have been defined by two things that were very meaningful. And, I eventually found my way in life. But I'll tell you, the first 10 years, disaster. I mean, you look at my resume and say, boy, you've got way too many logos for the number of years on there. And so, the journey's been incredible, and it's, you learn so much by doing it. And it's funny, I don't look back and begrudge or regret any of those times, because you are made by the adversity that you go through.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go back either.
Right. I like where I'm at today. Yeah. We're grateful that you're there. That's for sure.
Those first 10 years when you were dabbling and doing different things, what were your goals? What were you hoping that you turned into one day?
So it's an interesting question. I've always wanted to be a CEO and an entrepreneur. And since I was a kid, I mean, I bought a lawnmower when I was 8 years old and started a lawn business. Started paper route at 7 when my sister was 8.5, like in Minnesota at 4:30 in the morning in the middle of winter. I wanted to make money. I wanted to build something. I was always writing business plans. I didn't call them business plans because I didn't know what that was. But, from a young age, there were things that I wanted to do in life. And fast forward to when I graduated from college, and I had a strategy, and I was a few months out of college and realized I was unhappy and my career wasn't going anywhere. And, I was questioning everything, and I wanted, and with each move, I wanted to find what I loved. And so, it's and the list goes on, but it's interesting to look back and, think about what did I learn as the word dabbled is the right one. I mean, I never stopped working. I was working hard, but I was definitely not getting anywhere. And at the time it was discouraging, and I felt like my career was a failure. And it's interesting looking back, there was actually real value in each of those moments. They were real lessons. And it's one of the things that I really internalized along the way, which is, you keep your feet moving, and not to use a football analogy, but you're a running back, you keep your feet moving, and eventually you find the hole.
Right.
And it may not feel like you're going north south, but you get there. And I was just a big believer in learning from each experience, so that I didn't look back and say that was a waste of time and a failure.
Yeah. So basically your mentality, sounds like you're a self-starter. You've always been a self-starter.
100%.
So where did you get that from? Is that from your mother or your father? Because those are experiences that you've probably have witnessed throughout your life.
Yeah. There's no question there's DNA. I mean, my father became a successful entrepreneur, and yet growing up, I remember I grew up lower middle class for much of my life, and he made money later on. But no question, it's part of the DNA. But it's also interesting for me to think about, there is a nature component, but there's a nurture component as well. And if I wanted Nike shoes, and as the second child, my parents didn't make much money. It was on me to earn and to go buy them. And it's interesting. And there were 5 children in our family, and, we grew up differently. My older sister and I grew up the early days where, we worked and we paid for our gas and insurance in our car. And the younger siblings, this is not a knock on my younger siblings. It's just it was It was what they were, served up in life. But I do think that the nurture component made me hungry. And I remember appreciating the first time I bought Nike shoes. And by the way, I later realized that the swoosh went the wrong direction, so they were fake.
Got him. Okay, Mars.
But I didn't know it at the time. And like for $8 in the late 70s, what do you expect?
Right.
But I remember wearing them to bed until my parents said, these are worn. You can't wear these to bed anymore. And I grew up really appreciating those things because I worked for them. So it's a little bit of both. And boy, that's something I think a lot about with my own children.